Hi, welcome. If you haven't watched my previous video, actually our video with Damien, the test of the Fiat 125p from Selena, I'll start this video by asking you to click the link to that video in the description where the whole story began during that test. It turned out that we also have a pretty interesting barrel to show you, so after finishing with the Fiat 125p, we came back here to Selena and today we'll show you one more car. I invite you to watch the presentation of a truly unique barrel.
Hi, I'm Damien. Actually, with Zakharov, we were supposed to record only the big Fiat, the taxi from the series Zmienicy, but since we have the time and the opportunity, we're also recording the barrel. The legendary Mercedes W123 year 1983, 2.4 regular diesel, 72 horsepower. Watch it, and if you watched the previous video, I said that I mainly focus on big Fiats, so where did this barrel come from? This barrel came by chance. Actually, in the nearby area, my dad's friend was selling this barrel for a good price, in average condition. So I just bought it. It was fully restored, and it's simply here. Actually, it was bought for contrast, just to have it in this modest collection. Supposedly the production periods of the big Fiat and the Mercedes from those years are comparable, but there's just a huge gap in the quality of these cars, in how they drive, and simply in their usability. To the original yellow color of this Benz, a bit of pearl was added to the clear coat, just so the car would stand out on the road, so the paint would shimmer. What can we see here?
I hope the camera will capture it.
In the car, the entire floor was actually replaced. You just buy ready-made parts, seals, everything is available. Well, it wasn't easy, but luckily my dad has an auto parts store and he brought in those parts and ready-made elements. You just get the floors, sills, they're available, same with the fender repair panels, and the rest was fine, so there was no need to look for anything else. As you can see, we even have the original wheels here with Mercedes hubcaps, original 14s, which look really iconic. And Mercedes didn't skimp on chrome either, it's everywhere. I think it's in decent condition for its age, and here, for example, we can see its original color. This part hasn't been specially polished or touched up, that's just how it was. It's the same on the other side. While removing the windshield, it cracked, so it was replaced with a new aftermarket one. As I mentioned before, we have a 2.4 diesel engine here, really nothing special, just a regular 72 naturally aspirated horsepower. The things that were changed under the hood here are the battery, hoses, supports, filters and oils, and that's really all. The mileage of this car is 363,000, and honestly we know this is not the first time it has rolled over 363,000. Since I've had this car, I've done about 5,000 kilometers with it. Well, it just doesn't want to break down. There's simply nothing here that could break. You have to count on fuel consumption of about 7-8 liters per 100 kilometers. Nothing has been replaced in the car. Everything is just as it was. Everything has been preserved like that. As you can see, the dashboard also doesn't have any major cracks. The interior is classic green, with a fabric sunroof, which was probably added by someone earlier, because the original sunroofs that came with the equipment were completely different. We have a radio, lights, wipers, and warmer or cooler airflow, and that's pretty much it. In this car, as you can see, the list of equipment is very similar to the big Fiat that you just recorded, and you probably saw it a week ago. However, it's the same. We have a gearbox, a 4-speed on the floor, just a regular simplest one. But the magic of this car will only come out while driving. Why did this car cost much more than the big Fiat? And why are these two completely different worlds?
Dear viewers, the partner of this episode is MUBIPL, which is a well-known way to buy cheap insurance. This comparison tool checks offers from many different insurance companies and provides a ranking of the cheapest offers by purchasing through MUBIPL/Zakar. Additionally, after purchasing a policy, you can also get 100 Polish zloty cashback. Check it out yourself, even if your policy isn't expiring right now. After entering your car's details, you'll get an overview of the entire market within a few seconds. Note that the prices displayed will be shown before deducting the cashback. You can compare this with how much you paid for your last policy. It might come in handy in the future. The link is in the description, and let's not overpay for insurance. And at this point, we got stuck for 10 minutes because we wanted to give you the prices of this car compared to the prices of the Fiat 125p. And after 10 minutes of asking, Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer finally gave us the numbers. This Fiat 125p cost 170,000 zlotys. Around the year 83, the model year of this Mercedes, which in Germany cost between 18,000 and 26,000 Deutsche Marks depending on the engine version, and this one is quite basic, let's go with that. Ours even cost 20,000 Deutsche Marks, so it's obviously hard to find an exact exchange rate between zlotys and Deutsche Marks here, because there was the official exchange rate and the black market rate, which of course were drastically different from each other. And I suppose that if we say you could get 10 Fiats for one Mercedes, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but 5 for sure. Well, that's the 2-meter guy test. Those weren't the times when you could adjust the steering column. That actually surprises me when it comes to Mercedes, but maybe in 83. That's really how it was back then. Because of that, I feel less comfortable in the Mercedes, the W123, than in the Fiat 125p because the steering wheel is too far away. It's similar to the Fiat in that it's big, with a thin rim, although this one is already 4-spoked. We have a bit more adjustment here. We can adjust the front, back, and I think also up and down. There's a little lever here, but I'm not really sure what it does, but I suppose it's for up and down. And there's much more headroom here than in the Fiat. But I'll tell you, it's achieved in a very simple way. Well, the seat level you see here in the picture actually changes by about 20 centimeters. After a person takes a seat, they simply sink inside. This steering wheel is probably even bigger than in the Fiat, which means operating the clutch here will be a bit more difficult for me. Well, I didn't expect the barrel to give me less space than the cupboard. Oh, I forgot again that the seat, or actually the bench, is just the beginning of the drop down. There's more headroom here than in the Fiat because I don't even touch the ceiling with my knees. I'd say it's exactly the same. Here we already have headrests and armrest, which is nice and comfortable. And just like in the Fiat, we don't have any storage compartments here, nor do we have any in the doors. And just like in the Fiat, we have manual windows front and back. So if you look at the equipment list, as Damien said, there's nothing really out of this world here. This car is a bit more classy. It already has wooden inserts, or maybe fake wood, but I think it's real wood. Back then, nobody pretended. It's actually designed with style, whereas in the Fiat, everything was more about function. These beautiful gauges were so good that they lasted for many, many years.
As we've already said, you can see the differences not only while driving, but also when the cars are parked, even in front of the fire station. For example, whether you can start up and listen to the engine under a GS. The trunk is actually similar to the one in the big Fiat. It's a bit shorter, but it's much wider. In terms of volume, it might be similar to the big Fiat. But again, it's the little details like this silly warning triangle, which is mounted here in its original spot, and it's always in its place. Plastics, covered metal sheets, fuel tank cover, regular floor. These are also the details that make up the price difference between these two cars. Listen to how it starts and sounds.
Alright, the Mercedes shouldn't be so intense anymore. But it's quieter, really quieter. I mean, it rumbles like hell. Somewhere between third and reverse there's first gear. And getting into it isn't really to the left or right.
No, it'll end up wherever it wants.
Getting into it isn't exactly obvious. Interestingly, when you revved it a bit higher, the droning stopped and the car just goes much more pleasantly. That doesn't mean it's quiet. No, those diesels were still a bit noisy. But no, it's not just a bit better, it's a world better. I wouldn't say I'd be afraid to do a test watch at 50 with it, or rather, I wouldn't be afraid, and I think the car would handle it just fine too. However, the most important thing, the real game changer here in all of this is, of course, the suspension comfort, right? Where is that really? The worse the road, the more you can see where Mercedes has its biggest advantage.
You can drive over the largest potholes here without feeling a thing.
These tires are also, right, like big balloons.
Yeah, they are. I think they're 70%. There is
Everything is designed so that we don't really care what we're driving on, and it's still comfortable. When we get a stretch of straight road, we'll do it. Maybe not a real moose test, but at least, well, the car, it drives normally, you know.
It didn't even feel that. Honestly, the hardest part is getting it moving from a stop since it's sluggish, but once you're driving, it's pretty okay.
These are those legendary, indestructible, naturally aspirated diesels that used to run on used cooking oil from Fry's.
Used whatever cooking oil was available, like rapeseed oil or oil from Fry's.
Yeah, second gear, so theoretically a very good gear for overtaking. Just under 40 uphill gas. 45? Right, it's rising up to 50. You have to rev it high, but like with a diesel, that doesn't really help.
If you have the chance somewhere, just go ahead and pull the wheels onto the shoulder and you'll really see.
Yeah, just go ahead and put the wheels on the shoulder.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoa, and you still didn't pull over all the way.
I know, because I'm a bit afraid of the wheels. Catching the shoulder sounds like, so to speak,
But you didn't even feel it.
a way to get into trouble. And in this case, it was just a slight tingling on the left side, and the left side was driving on the grass, while the right was on smooth asphalt, and the difference was barely noticeable. Well, I didn't expect that. So what are you going to do with that Mercedes? Well, you fixed it, painted it, drove a few thousand kilometers.
I drove it a bit.
It's time for something else. Well, I understand I wouldn't want this episode, just like the previous one, to have any commercial aspect in how it's received. Here, Damien didn't invite me to boost sales because that's the slogan. The most popular, most famous meadow in Poland doesn't come out of nowhere because it's really hard not to notice it. So, passing by, I'm still in reverse. That's exactly the problem with first gear, that it's somewhere between reverse and third, and now it's in. We're not giving you advertising because I don't need it. Here there will be a better straight stretch. You actually encouraged me to try a sharper maneuver at 50. Just let that guy behind us pass first. If someone comes onto your meadow, are they more interested in Fiats or rather in a Mercedes? No, Fiats, right? Fiats, though, I don't know why, but nobody looks at the Mercedes, and with the Fiat, everyone looks at it. That was for contrast, to show how well the Germans had it, but it ended up showing by contrast how nobody here cares about Pechka. Here, there's a perfectly straight, wide road. I think I'm about to hit 50 here. Honestly, this car is damn impressive. I didn't expect it to bounce back so eagerly. We were literally just a split second away from ending up in the left ditch, and that was a really decisive move on its part. I thought with that big steering wheel I'd have to really turn it hard to get it to react at all, but with just a small movement it was suddenly already there. And such a quick change of direction. I'm not at all surprised the tire squealed, but honestly, aside from the fact that it leaned, it handled just the way it should. No stress at all. That was my first impression right after I got on it and moved the handlebars a bit, that I'm not afraid of it. I'm curious how quickly this car reached 60. Because I suppose it could have about the same as a Fiat, so it might be similar. Damn, it's CHATGPT again, isn't it? And you know, just driving the car onto that gravel like that. Your jaw drops on camera. Maybe you couldn't see it, but I drove half the car onto the gravel and I didn't feel it. Not just from underneath, but also on the steering wheel. This car puts you in the mood for longer trips. Maybe it doesn't exactly chase after us because when we step on the gas, there's some black smoke, not a lot, but there is a bit. I mean, when you were revving it up in the parking lot, at first there was nothing, but once it got to higher revs, it let out some smoke. Actually, more than just a little. Everything is as it should be, which means it works. Let's check out the last advantage of this car, which is turning the wheel all the way and making a U-turn on the spot. Wow. And since we've reached the end of our test drive, I'd like to thank you for the presentation. Actually, for the presentation of two cars, I should say, and congratulate you on such a diverse collection, which shows not only the communist era side, but also the Western one. A look at the automotive world from two sides, from two different perspectives. And I think you're doing a great job. You can, when passing such a spot, just pull over, feel the atmosphere here, there, and so on. Thank you also for watching this episode. Remember to subscribe and see you in the next ones.